I pleaded. King Solomon of blessed memory said, "How great is the reward when somebody gives charity and has compassion on the poor," as the verse says. He who is generous to the poor makes a loan to the Lord. He will repay him his due. Proverbs 19:17. This means the one who has compassion for the poor is like one who has lent the Holy One money, and he repays it to the one who has compassion for the poor. It is known that the wealthy person relies greatly on his wealth and little on God. Or he relies on his friends and on his devotees, since the whole world hates the poor person. Therefore, the poor person places all of his hopes in the Holy One. That is why King Solomon said, "Because the poor person has few friends and nobody has compassion for him, I will have compassion for him." The Holy One said, "Whoever will have compassion for the poor person, it is as if he had compassion for me, and I am obligated to pay him his reward." People bless him since his attributes and custom is from the Holy One, and he blesses the people who serve him. He freely gives gifts, even to those who do not worship properly him, since God is only compassion. Therefore, the verse begins here with "I pleaded." This means, Moses said, "I will ask God that he should have compassion on me to accept my prayer, since the righteous, even though they are pious, yet they do not want to hold themselves high, and ask the Holy One that he should give them undeserved gifts, and will not ask for the sake of their piety and good deeds." The prayer of Moses was that the Holy One should allow him to go into the land of Israel. Moses said, "Since I vanquished Sihon and Og, the oath that the Holy One made is abrogated, since I have begun to conquer the land of Sihon and Og. Then I will continue to conquer the land of Israel. Enough." The Holy One said to Moses, "Adam brought death into the world, so that each person must die." Moses responded, "Lord of the universe, Adam committed a sin." The Holy One said, "Did Abraham have to die? He allowed himself to be thrown into the fire for the sake of God." Moses responded, "An evil son, Ishmael, came from Abraham." The Holy One said, "Isaac stretched out his neck to be slaughtered for the sake of God, and he had to die." Moses said, "The evil Esau came from Isaac." The Holy One said, "Jacob had 12 righteous children, and he had to die." Moses said, however, "Jacob did not ascend to heaven like I did, and he did not receive the Torah, as I did." Moses said, "There were 600,000 Israelites, and they sinned many times, and you forgave them, and you do not want to forgive me." The Holy One responded, "One does much more for the sake of a community than one does for the sake of an individual." Moses said, "Punish me with torments to my body, but do not give me into the hands of the angel of death. I will tell your praises in the whole world. As the verse says, I shall not die but live and proclaim the works of the Lord." The Holy One responded, "There is a gate through which even the righteous have to enter. As the verse says, this is the gateway to the Lord, the righteous shall enter through it." Psalm. Moses saw that he could not win his case, so he went to heaven and earth and said, "Pray for me." They responded, "We have to pray for ourselves, since we will also be destroyed in the end. As the verse says, the heavens should melt away like smoke, and the earth wear out like a garment. Isaiah. This means, the heavens will dissolve like smoke, and the earth will melt like a skein of thread. Moses went to the stars and to the sun and moon and the high mountains. They all responded, "We have enough to deal with." He came to the sea, and the sea said to Moses, "What happened to you? You beat me with your stick, and I had to split." The Shekinah always stood at your right hand. As soon as Moses heard that the sea spoke about the wonders that he did in his youth, Moses ran and screamed and cried before the highest angel and said, "Pray for me." The angel responded, "I have heard that your prayers will not help." Moses immediately shouted and cried. The Holy One said, "I have sworn 2 oaths. If you want to remain alive, then Israel must be destroyed, heaven forbid. If Israel were to remain alive, then you must die." Moses responded, "I and my thousands should be destroyed, before any Israelite should be destroyed." The Holy One said, "If your fear of the angel of death is so great, then I will place the angel of death in your hands." Moses responded, "How should my mother, Yocheved, not mourn? She has already buried 2 children, and should she also bury the 3rd one?" The Holy One said, "The time has come for Joshua to be a king over Israel. Therefore, you must die." Moses said, "If this is why I must die, I will be a disciple to Joshua, and let him be the teacher." The Holy One responded, "If you want to do that, then it is good." Moses immediately went to the tent of Joshua early in the morning and stood by the door. Joshua taught Torah to Israel and did not see Moses, since Moses had bent down so that he should not be seen, and closed his mouth with his hands so that he should not be recognized. All of Israel came to Moses' tent, and they found him with Joshua. Moses stood, and Joshua sat. All of Israel said to Joshua, "What is this? You are sitting, and your teacher is standing?" As soon as Joshua saw that Moses was standing, he tore his garments and cried and said, my teacher, my Lord, what are you doing?" The Israelites said to Moses, "Teach us Torah." Moses responded, "I am not supposed to." They said, "We will not allow you." A heavenly voice came down from heaven and said, "Learn Torah from Joshua." They immediately learned Torah from Joshua, and Moses sat at the right hand of Joshua and Eleazar on his left side, and Joshua taught Torah before Moses. Afterwards, when all of Israel left the house of study, all of Israel came to Moses and said to him, "Teach us, and explain what Joshua had said." Moses responded, "I cannot do it." That hour Moses said, "Lord of the universe, it is time. I will die." They said to Moses, "There is still an hour to your death." Moses said, "Let us wait a while. I will first bless Israel." He blessed each tribe separately. Then he saw that it was almost time to die. He blessed all of Israel together. Then they said to him, "Moses, there is still a half hour before your death." He began to ask forgiveness of all of Israel and said, "I have troubled you many times to study Torah. Forgive me." Then they said, "Moses, there is still a minute to your death." Immediately he said, "Blessed be his name, who lives and exists forever." He said to Israel, "When you will come to the land of Israel, remember me." They said, "How should we not remember you? You have done everything good for us." Immediately they said, "Moses, there is still half a minute before your death." Moses immediately put both hands on his heart and said to Israel, "These hands that receive the Torah will be buried in the earth." His soul immediately left him. No man and no angel buried him, but the Holy One himself. He died on the 7th day of the month of Adar, the same day that he was born. The Holy One counts the days of the righteous. Vaetchanan 6. You shall not go across yonder Jordan. The Holy One said to Moses, "You will not cross the Jordan, and even your bones will not cross it." Moses said, "Lord of the universe, why am I worse than Joseph the righteous one, that his bones were taken to the land of Canaan?" The Holy One responded, "Did you deny your land? When you came to Jethro, his daughters said, 'An Egyptian came and helped us draw the water.' You, Moses, heard everything. They called you an Egyptian, and you remained silent. You allowed yourself to be called by a foreign name. You should have said, 'I am a Jew.' Therefore, you are not worthy to come into your land, since you disowned your own land. However, Joseph the righteous one, when the Gentile woman, his master's wife, wanted that he should sleep with her, she said about Joseph, 'My Lord has brought a Jew from the Jews.' He wanted to sleep with me. He did not disown that he was a Jew and said, 'I was stolen from the Jews, from the Jewish land.' Therefore, he was worthy to be buried in the Jewish land. The Holy One said, 'When you, Moses, will be buried among the people in the wilderness, because of your merit, they will come into the land of Israel.'" A parable. Someone loses a penny or other copper coins in the dark. He reflects, "If I were to ask people to provide light to search for my cheap coins, the people would not listen to me." That person went and threw a golden among the ordinary coins and shouted, "I lost a golden." The people came immediately and provided a light. When he took the golden, he also took the ordinary coins along with it. So too, the Holy One said to Moses, "When you will be buried outside the land, you will take along all of Israel into the land of Israel." However, Jacob was worthy to be buried with his flesh and bones in the land of Israel. Joseph was worthy that his bones were buried in the land of Israel, but his flesh and skin decayed outside the land. Long after his death, the children of Israel carried him to the land of Israel. 2.8:9 To observe, so that you may live. From here we learn that study is not primary, but good deeds. This is primary, and this is life. You shall not add. The verse teaches that the person should not be too clever and not want to add new commandments than what the Torah had commanded. However, when people make a vow to fast when it is not commanded, or they do not eat meat for several days, or other penitential acts, these are permitted to fend off the evil inclination. That is why the Torah wrote near this verse about the foreign god of Baal Peor, that you worshipped. One uncovered oneself and placed one's red end toward the foreign god, and defecated before the foreign god. Even though one may mock the foreign god to shame it and make it despicable before the foreign god. However, a foreign god where the nations of the world do this as an act of worship, that which is despicable, no Jew should do this, even though the Jew intends to shame. Therefore, the Israelites thought that they were doing the right thing by defecating before Peor. However, the Holy One killed them all. So too, the one who wants to add some commandments, more than what the Torah had commanded, he does not do right. When he is zealous for the sake of God, yet he should not add, just like at Peor, even though the intention of the Israelites was good, to mock the foreign god. He thought that he would have a reward from this. So too, the commandments that one wants to add, the person might soon commit a sin. The Holy One gave the Torah full and complete, without any defects. One should not add, as one who wants to make phylacteries with 5 passages, and wants to take on Sukkot, an etrog, a palm frond, myrtle and willows, and add something to them, or if he wants to make 5 zizit, or wants to sleep in the sukkah on the 8th day, he should not do these things. You, who hold fast to the Lord. Our sages said, how is it possible to cleave to God? The verse tells us that one should perform their deeds like God. The Holy One does acts of loving kindness with people. So too one should do with his friend. 133 billions. Or, one who cleaves to a scholar, it is like he cleaved to the Shekinah. 111 billions. Similarly, whoever cleaves to a righteous person will be protected for his sake. Vaetchanan, Remez, 824. So close at hand, as is the Lord. Rabbi Hananiah and Rabbi Joshua said, where are there a people like Israel? When someone should have a case before judges, he is sad and worries that he should not lose the case. He wears black clothes and allows his hair to grow. However, Israel, when the new year comes, which is the day of judgment when people are judged, Israel dresses in white, groom themselves, eat good things and are happy, since they know well that the Holy One will forgive them their sins, since the Holy One is close to Israel to hear their prayers. Another explanation. It is customary that when somebody has a relative and that relative is rich, he says, this is my relative. However, when he is poor, he says, this is not my relative. However, the Holy One is not so. Israel was poor, naked and insignificant in Egypt, and he said, Israel is my firstborn son. Exodus 4:22. This means Israel is my firstborn child. Vaetchanan, Remez, 825. These, the Lord your God, allotted to other peoples. The Torah tells us that you should not follow the foreign gods that the nations worship. When things go well for the Gentiles, it is because the Holy One allows it to happen, so that because things go well for them, they will be destroyed along with their foreign gods. Rabbah, the son of Isaac, said to Rabbi Judah, there is a foreign god that when people desire rain, something appears to them and says to them, slaughter a person, and then I will allow the rain to fall. As soon as they slaughter a person, the rain falls." Rabbi Judah responded, "If I had been dead, you would not have understood this. However, now I will tell you how this happens. I heard Rav say that the Holy One misleads the nations of the world, that they should think that it is something good for the foreign god and they should be destroyed. God leads the person the way that he wants to go. Bezer, in the desert. A city called Bezer. This was a city of refuge. When a killer had accidentally killed his friend, he ran there, and nothing should be done to him there. The Torah wrote this near the verse regarding the cities of refuge. This is the teaching. This teaches us that the Torah is a city of refuge for a person. Whoever studies Torah is protected by the Torah. Nobody can do anything to him when he studies Torah, as we find with Rabbi Hizda. The angel of death could do nothing to him, since he studied day and night. His mouth did not stop studying Torah. The angel of death went and split a large tree that was very strong. Rabbi Hizda stopped studying, and the angel of death killed him. Resh Lakish said, "The angel of the city of Rome will run to the city of refuge in the days of the Messiah, since he will think, I have allowed many Israelites to be killed. I am a killer." However, he will make 3 mistakes. The first is that he will run to Bazara. This is not the city of refuge, but Bezer is the city of refuge. The second is that he killed Israelites willingly, and the city of refuge was given to those who killed accidentally. The third mistake is that he is an angel, and the cities of refuge only accept human beings and not angels. I, the Lord, am your God. The 10 statements are like a king who builds a new land and places the people in it. The king writes permits about what the people are obligated to do for the king and how the people should behave to one another. Therefore, the Holy One gave the 10 statements on 2 tablets. On one tablet was written how the people should relate to the Holy One. On the second tablet was written how the people should relate to each other. The first statement is, I, the Lord, am your God. This means, know that I am God who took you out of Egypt, where you were in captivity. Therefore, keep me as your Lord, who has given you this land. If you want to have me as your Lord, and will say, I want another Lord like me, therefore the second statement was written, you shall have no other gods. This means, you should have no God other than me. You shall not serve anyone but me alone. Afterwards, the king said to the people, when you accept me as your Lord, then you should honor me honestly. Therefore, the Holy One wrote the third statement, you shall not swear falsely by the name of the Lord your God. This means, you should not swear falsely by my name, not to keep what you say. With this, he desecrates his name, and is as if he considers me as nothing. Afterwards, the king says to his people, make a memorial that I have given you this land. You shall not forget to honor me, and make a day of rest, to be joyous that I have given you this land. Therefore, the Holy One said the fourth statement, observe the Sabbath day and keep it holy. This means, rest on the Sabbath to make it holy. You should remember that I took you out of Egypt, and I gave you the land of Israel. Afterwards, the king said to the people, you are people who die, and who will know after your death that I gave you the land. Your children will accept another king. Therefore, I command you that the son should honor the father, and he should keep what he promised. Therefore, your children should also say that I gave the land. Therefore, the Holy One said the fifth statement, honor your father and your mother. This means, honor your father and mother and do what they tell you, that I created the world and I took you out of Egypt. These 5 statements were written on one tablet, on which was written how the person should relate to the Holy One. On the other tablet was written how one friend should relate to the other one. First he wrote, do nothing to your friend's body to kill him. This is, you shall not murder. Afterwards he said, do not touch your friend's wife who was given to him by God. The wife is also a part of the husband, like his body. This is the second statement, you shall not commit adultery, if you will remember that I will not do anything to his body, and I will not take his money. Therefore, the Holy One wrote the third statement, you shall not steal. This means, do not steal his money, And if you will remember that I will not take his money, but I can hurt him with my words, to give false witness about a friend. Therefore the Holy One wrote, You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. This means, do not give false witness against any friend. The fifth statement. The Holy One said, If you would say, I will not damage my friend with my mouth, but in my thoughts, in my heart, I might do him damage, to envy him or give him an evil eye on his goods. Therefore the Holy One wrote, You shall not covet. This means, you should not covet something of your friends like a wife or his house or his ox or his donkey. An evil eye comes from this lust. You can bring him harm with an evil eye. May they always be of such a mind. May the hearts of Israel always be so to be good. From here we learn that everything is within the power of the Holy One, but that he should fear God. This is in the power of the person. He may be good or evil. The Holy One has given the person the power so that he may do what he wants. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone. The verse mentions 3 divine names. First, Vaetchanan. This shows that the Holy One was God before the world was created. The second divine name, our God, shows that he was God when the world was created. The third divine name, Vaetchanan, shows that the Holy One will be God even if the world ends. The word one shows that he will be one at all times. The person should know that when he says one when he prays, he should have his heart in it and his intention for what the word one is. He should not move his mouth without having his thoughts on it. Therefore the verse began with hear. This means, understand what you are saying. Moses said to Israel, You said, We will do and we will hear. Exodus 24:7 on Mount Sinai. This means, you will do and you will hear. Since you made the golden calf, you did not do what God had told you. Therefore it continued further with the word, we will hear. Therefore we recite, Hear, O Israel, every day. A parable. A king betroths a woman with 2 precious stones, and she loses 1 precious stone. The king says, Be careful with the other precious stone. Israel were worthy to say, Hear, O Israel, from Jacob onward. Jacob said to his children when he was dying, I fear that when I die you will accept another God. The children said all together, Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone. This means, listen, our father Israel, your God is our God. Therefore, we say every day, Hear, O Israel. Another explanation is that Moses was in heaven, and he heard the angels say, Blessed be the name of his glorious majesty forever and ever. This means, praise his name and give him honor. His kingdom exists forever and ever. When Moses came down to Israel, he taught them to say, Blessed be the name of his glorious majesty forever and ever. He said to Israel, You should not say this loudly, but silently, so that one does not hear it. A parable. Someone steals a goblet from the king's table. He gives the goblet to his wife and says to her, Do not show the goblet to people, but use the goblet in the house. However, on Yom Kippur we say, Blessed be the name of his glorious majesty forever and ever, out loud. Israel praises the Holy One, and the Holy One praises Israel. A parable. A pious religious man has a pious wife. He praises his wife among all the men, and she praises her husband among all the women, how she has a husband whose piety is beyond compare. This is how the Holy One praises Israel before the angels. He says, There is no better people than Israel, as the verse says, Only one is my dove, my perfect one. Song of Songs 6:9. Israel says, The Lord is our God, the Lord alone. Vaetchanan, Remes 834. You shall love the Lord your God. You should love God because he is one and created the world alone. The one who worships the Holy One out of fear does not properly worship him, but one should worship him out of love. One should fulfill the commandments that the Holy One has commanded, and one should be joyous when one fulfills a commandment, with all your heart and with all your soul. You should love the Holy One with your heart, because the heart is the first thing created in the womb. When the person dies, the heart dies last. When all the organs are dead, then the heart dies. Therefore it says that you should love God with your heart from the time you first live until you die, with all your might. You should love God with your money. You should not love your money more than the Holy One when a commandment comes to hand. We find concerning Rabban Gamaliel, who bought an etrog for 1,000 gulden. He wanted to fulfill the commandment. Our sages said in the Talmud, in Tractate Baba Kama, Rabbi Zerah said, when a person has an etrog and a lulav, or a Torah scroll for 15 gulden, and afterwards he finds more beautiful etrogs or Torah scrolls, he is obligated to spend an extra 5 gulden for the more beautiful object. He should make the commandment more beautiful before the Holy One, as the verse says, "This is my God, and I will glorify him." This means that he should glorify God with beautiful commandments. Some sages say, with all your might means, you should love God with all the fortitude that he gives you, whether good or evil. You should always praise God. Some sages say that you should love God with all your heart. This refers to Abraham, who loved God with his whole heart and brought many people to the love of God, with all your soul. This refers to Isaac, who put his soul in peril and was ready to allow himself to be slaughtered on the altar, with all your might. This refers to Jacob, who gave a tithe from his money and from his children, which I charge you this day. The commandments that you fulfill should not be like an old commandment in your eyes, but like they were given today. When a person is accustomed to do something often, then it is nothing new to him. However, the commandments should be in your eyes like a letter that the king writes to someone. He listens to each word that is in the letter. So too should the commandments be in your eyes. Recite them. You shall speak in the Torah, and your primary speech should be in the Torah. The Torah is not fulfilled except by shouting with his voice. However, prayer should be silent and not loudly shouted in the synagogue. A sign on your hand. One should place the phylactery on the left hand, in the middle of the hand opposite the heart, as frontlets on your head. The phylactery of the head should be over the brain, the doorposts of your house. One should write the mezuzah and place it on the right doorpost when he goes into the house, since the person first steps into his house with his right foot. One writes the divine name Shaddai on the outside of the mezuzah, since the Gentiles say that when things go well for a person in his house, it is caused by the zodiac constellations in heaven. Therefore, the Holy One ordered that the divine name Shaddai be written. This shows us that the Holy One can change the zodiac constellations and move them as he wants. Our sages said, King Artaban sent a precious stone to Rabbi Judah the prince, and informed Rabbi, send me something better than this precious stone in return. Rabbi sent him a mezuzah. The king responded, I sent you a precious stone that no person can pay for, and you send me a mezuzah that one can buy for 2 pennies. Rabbi responded, you sent me something that one can buy with much money. However, I sent you a thing that has no measure and no set amount. Furthermore, what you sent me is something that one must carefully guard from thieves. However, what I sent you is very protected and protects you and your whole house, as the verse says, when you lie down it will watch over you, and when you are awake it will talk with you. Proverb. This means, when you sleep it will protect you, and when you are awake it talks with you. House is full of all good things. The Holy One promised that Israel should find very good thing in the houses in the land of Israel where the nations lived. Even the meat of the pigs became permitted to the Israelites where they found it belonging to the Gentiles. Similarly, other things that the Torah forbade to Israel the Holy One allowed for 7 years, while they waged war in the land of Israel. It was all permitted. However, they had no benefit from the idolatrous things. Maimonides wrote explicitly that it was permitted to eat non-kosher meat and pork when they were hungry, and did not have what to eat, and to drink non-kosher wine. Take heed that you do not forget. The Torah teaches us that when things go well for the person, he should not forget how bad things were for him when he was poor. Therefore, the verse says here, take heed and remember how you had it in Egypt, and now you have enough of everything. Now remember that the Holy One has given you everything. Swear only by his name. The Torah commanded that when you want to fulfill a commandment, you should swear by the Holy One and not by any other God. Rabbi Osiah said, "A person should swear to his evil inclination that he would not follow it," as we find with Abraham. He swore, "I lift up my hand to the Lord." Genesis 14:22. This means, I lift up my hand to God, that I will not take anything that is not mine. So too, Boaz swore, "As the Lord lives," Ruth 3:13, Ruth came to him at night into his bed. He did not want to touch her, to sleep with her. This is what the righteous do. However, the evildoers are the opposite. They swore that they will do the will of the inclination, and they keep their word. Vaetchanan, Remez 840. Do not try the Lord your God. The verse tells us that we should not test the Holy One. He would say, "I will worship the Holy One, and will see if the Holy One will give me good fortune." Rather, he should worship with his whole heart, whether he gives you good fortune or not. It is not because you are the most numerous. The verse shows us that even though we are among the smallest among the nations of the world, yet nonetheless God desires us as a people. Therefore, it is just that you should serve the Holy One. Our sages said, "The Holy One said to Israel, because you do not hold yourself important, therefore I want you to be my people." But who instantly requites with destruction those who reject him. The Holy One repays the evildoer his reward. To destroy him he does not tarry. Some sages say that the Holy One pays the evildoer himself his reward, and not to his children. When the evildoer does something good, God immediately repays him in this world, expecting that he should have no good in the next world. A parable. A person is very sick, he will certainly die. The physician says, "Give him what he desires to eat and drink, he will certainly die." So too, the Holy One gives the evildoer his reward in this world for the good that he did, since he will certainly have troubles in the next world. The Holy One said, "I will give the evildoer his reward for the few commandments that he fulfilled in this world, since this world is short and soon passes. His joy will soon end. He will not be given his reward in the next world, which is eternal and long-lasting, since the honor is greater in the next world. However, for the righteous person, I will repay him for his few sins in this world, which soon passes, and his positive deeds should remain for the next world, which is long-lasting. Furthermore, in this world, only the body is punished. However, in the next world, the soul and the body are punished. Thus, the evildoer will have great troubles in the next world. Our sages say that the Holy One waits on the evildoer in 3 ways and allows him to have a good time in this world. The first is that he should repent. The second is that he may have fulfilled a commandment. The third is that he should raise a son who will be righteous. Therefore God waits for him and does not immediately kill him, with which I charge you today. The sages say that this world was given that one should fulfill commandments, and the next world was given so that one should receive his reward. The person should know that the next world is not where one fulfills commandments. Therefore, the person should think to fulfill commandments while he lives, expecting that in the next world he will have for what to receive a reward.